In my life, I've always been able to recognize certain life lessons that, when I experience them, I recognize them for what they were. This is partly due to an absent father where, YouTube and just the determination to figure it out. It was really the only father figure I had for much of my life. And that's not to be a pity party, but to show you where I'm coming from. And one of these first lifelong lessons that I ever remembered was the concept of consistency and how it, in my life, was the number one factor of success in anything that I did. Oftentimes, I found where if I just showed up and I just showed out every single day, regardless of how I felt that day or the competition that I was facing up against, whether it be myself or another team or another person, that's many times just showing up was really all you needed to do. People seem to not be able to grasp the concept of showing up, and people seem to dismiss the idea that consistency is arguably one of the most important factors to lifelong success or success in any project or sport, whatever the case may be. As long as you show up day in and day out, it usually is enough. And I'm not saying that's an end all be all case because it's not, but that's a general rule of thumb, and that's generally what I've found. What I've found is that if I simply showed up, it was enough to beat the majority of the competition that I was facing up against. And as long as I never got complacent in where I was in life, or regardless of what I was doing, I was always going to beat my number one competitor, which was myself. One example of this would be when I was in high school. I was really into soccer, and one of my goals for my freshman year was to make the varsity team. Now I didn't make I didn't make the team when we first initially tried out, but we had the opportunity to be pulled up to play for certain games, and to get our feet wet in the varsity level. And that summer prior and all throughout the season, I dedicated myself to mastering the basics. First touch, passing, the simplest stuff, the stuff that people often at the high school level overlook because they think they're above it. They think they're above the simple work. Um, my ability to hone the most basic skills to the point where I was doing passing so much there is a hole in my garage wall to this day. The ball was hit time and time again for months on end. The ability to hone the simplest skills, the most basic skills, and master them, become a master of oftentimes the fundamentals of anything you're doing. It allows you to catapult yourself miles ahead of the competition because you find yourself being able to save, a second here, a second there, become more efficient in this area, whatever the case may be. The same could be said for anything. If you want to master accounting, uh, learning how to balance a balance sheet is one of the most basic things you can do in accounting. If you can get really good at that, you're going to be able to you're going to have a really good base, a really good foundation to build upon, and ultimately you're going to be miles ahead of your competitors or your peers, whoever the case may be. And another example of this is more tied to my life now, where I'm really big into the gym. I go every single day, 7 days a week, regardless of what I'm doing. It's like a high for me. I look forward to it. It's how I decompress with my day's work. And I've been going just over for a year now, and really consistently. Before I would go and for a couple months, then I would stop, and then I would go again, but I never really stuck to it. And after just over a year of continuously going every single day, day in and day out, and pushing for certain like lift goals or looking a certain way or whatever the case may be, how have I now seen like tremendous progress? And it's just another lesson that if you just show up, regardless of how you feel that day, or regardless of what time of day it is, or regardless of what you got going on, it's enough. You're getting 1% better every single day. And I'm not gonna say every day that I was at the gym that I wanted to be there. I didn't. I probably wanted to be doing a lot of other things and being at the gym. Or like, maybe I didn't feel the best that day. Maybe I felt like I was dragging ass. Maybe I felt that I was, feeling really lethargic, sluggish, like I didn't have a lot of energy, or I just didn't feel that strong that day for some reason. I still went. It didn't matter. Just the concept of going was enough for me. The goal was to go. The goal was not the end results. If you're able to flip what you're doing on its head and recognize that the goal itself is the action. The action is to go to the gym. The action is to make that pass consistently. The action is to, whatever the case may be. The action is arguably the most important part to any goal. Because you can't achieve your goals. You can't do the things that you want to do in life if you don't do the things that need to be done to get there. And people focus so much on the results when they first start off. Like I'm sure Mr. Beast or some of the most famous YouTubers, they didn't see much results after a month in, 2 months in, maybe even a year in. But to them, it didn't matter. To a business owner, cold calls, cold emails, whatever the case may be, the action of doing it was enough for them. As long as they were doing that action, as long as they were getting the work done itself, that was the goal. Just the results were a gift to that goal. They were a byproduct. They didn't focus on it. It didn't matter to them. As long as they were doing the action itself, they were happy. They were content because they knew they were moving forward in the direction that they wanted to go. And another thing that I found is that progress is not measured day to day. Like you're going to the gym, those first 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be. If you go to the mirror every single day after the gym, you're like, damn, I'm not doing anything. Like this is pointless. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting so much energy, effort. Maybe even your meal prepping. There's so much that goes into the gym sometimes, and you're like, damn, like I'm not seeing any results. Like why continue going? Like what's the point? And just the action itself of going is that's the goal. Getting in there day in and day out, regardless of what you're doing, that is the goal. This is the short term goal. Progress is not the short term goal. The action itself is the short term goal. It's only sometimes after weeks or months or sometimes even years after of doing that action repeatedly over and over and over and hammering it do we see the results of the countless days that we put in where no one was there, no one was watching. It was just you, your thoughts, and your desire to do whatever you're doing. And that is ultimately the goal to success, is that the actions are the goals. Not the results, not the money you make. If a millionaire wanted to become a millionaire, after a year of trying to make $1 million and they haven't made $1 million, they're probably going to quit. Because, that monetary value is not in their bank account, and they're like, oh, okay, this is not working, let me try something else. No, a millionaire is going to stick to the basics. 100 cold calls a day, 100 emails sent a day. So a certain amount of percentage of sales overturned, churning, whatever the case may be, those actions itself are enough for them. Because they recognize that these actions are what's going to get them there, not the results itself. And also another thing is when you adopt this mindset that the actions itself are in the consistency of these actions is the goal, expand your timeline. You're going to be looking at, months, years, sometimes even decades to get where you want to go. With this YouTube channel, I've recognized that maybe a year or two in, I may still not have the audience base. I may still be doing this to a very few amount of people who are going to see this, and that's okay. That doesn't matter to me. As long as there's someone on the internet that benefits from these videos, I'm going to continue doing them. And if I have one subscriber or if I have 1 million subscribers, it doesn't matter. The action and the goals that I have is to A, help people, and B, just post videos consistently. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters. The results that I get from this, none of that matters. Just as the concept of being consistent is important, the flip side which is just as equally as important, is that complacency is oftentimes your number one enemy, especially when you're competing with yourself. There's a saying that I like to tell myself, and it's stuck with me for a very long time, and it's that consistency compounds and complacency kills. The ability to do something, the simple actions over and over and over, is a snowball effect into the greatest things that you can ever accomplish. On the flip side, the minute you get complacent, the minute you stop pushing, the minute you stop trying to better yourself, is the minute that you start falling behind. And it's true that, in the world of business, in the world of the gym, in the world of school, whatever the case may be that you're trying to relate this topic to, the minute that you stop progressing is the minute that's A, your competitors get ahead of you, B, you start to fall behind. You're not on top of your game. You don't know what you're doing. You start forgetting the basic things. You start forgetting the fundamentals. And this complacency, this idea that we're above the work, or that we don't have to do the work. We're there. You're never truly there. You are never truly there, because the minute you think you're there, you got another marathon to go before you even get there. Because you start selling yourself short. You start cutting corners. You start forgetting the basic things, and that's where the competition, that's where your competitors are going to start killing you. It's true in the world of business, in the world of academics, whether you're trying to get into a really competitive school. It really is true. And one of the things that I found, and I saw it a lot on my high school soccer team, was that early success is a huge factor to complacency, and it can ultimately be someone's downfall. I've met guys who were 10 times stronger than me, faster than me, have better game IQ, whatever the case may be. Technically, they're miles ahead of me, but they think they're above the work. They think they're above showing up day in and day out, and killing the competition. And the truth is that if they were to put in the same amount of work that I was to put into, I'd never be able to compete. They're 10 times more talented. That's just the reality of it. But my worth ethic, the idea that I created in my own head was that I could outwork any of these people if I just showed up every single day. Allowed me to excel in soccer. Allowed me to excel in the gym. That's why I'm miles ahead of my peers for the timeline that I've been on in the gym. And so, to take away from this, do not allow yourself to become complacent. Always keep striving to move forward and setting new goals, because then you know where you're headed. If you can either only go two ways. You can go backwards or forwards. And if you set higher goals, if you set higher expectations for yourself, ultimately you know that you're headed in the right direction. You don't know how long it may take you to get there. You don't know how efficient you're doing the things. You don't even know if you may be doing the things right, but you know that you're at least trying to move in the right direction. And oftentimes that's really all you ever need. And for a lot of people, that's enough. I don't care how long this takes me. None of this matters. If I get 10 million subscribers tomorrow, if I get 10 million subscribers, a year from now, none of that matters, because I know that I'm headed in the right direction. I'm doing the things I need to do. And the same can be said in the world of, academics, the world of sports, the world of business, whatever the case may be. And I know I keep harping on this, but it really is, it needs to be drilled into your brain that the idea that consistency, day in and day out, just hammering it away, it really is enough to kill the competition. If you just show up and just do what you need to do, you don't even need to excel at it half the time. If you just show up and just kill everything, it doesn't matter. It's more than enough. But just don't sell yourself short. If you see some early success, or maybe you have a really long tenure in a certain career field or a certain company, and you start to get comfortable, you start to cut corners. That's when you truly see that a guy across the hall is going to notice it, and he's going to come for your position. He's going to take it, and it's cutthroat, and people don't care. So complacency can kill dreams. It can kill opportunities. It can kill careers. It can kill everything. And as long as you recognize that complacency is oftentimes the number one enemy in anything you do. It's not the person across the hall that you're competing with. It's not the competitor down the street. It's not the team or your rivals across the town. It's yourself. And your mind, you cannot allow your mind to stop pushing. Hammer away, be consistent, and don't ever let complacency get to you, because the minute it gets to you is the minute you start falling behind, and you're going to notice that your downfall is going to be coming up real soon.